This is my Gerber multi-tool, or if that's how it's pronounced. And I bought this 20 years ago while I was in the military. God, I'm old. And to be honest, I haven't really used it since. And there's a couple of reasons for that, I think, and we'll get into those in a bit. First of all, it comes in a holster. And it's meant to go on your belt. I don't like having tools on my belt. I don't like anything dangling on my waist and yeah, get hooked on everything. It used to have an adapter for some assorted bits, but those were made out of a low quality steel and they rusted like you wouldn't believe, so I threw them away. And then there's the tool itself. In the closed position it is locked, so to open it you need to retract the pliers. And well, what can you say about the pliers? I tried to cut some fencing wire with them and it broke them, so well, not really high quality there. And when you've opened it, you now have access to all the individual tools. Now there's the standard knife, and this is nothing to write home about. It's not very stiff, but it will do the work. Then there's an eye for a lanyard. Can't really see why I should use that. And then there's a flat-headed screwdriver, which is, well, nice I guess, although flat-headed screws are the worst. And then there's a tin can opener with a bottle opener. Now, I can't remember when I bought a tin can that didn't have one of the rings for opening, so I've never had the use of this. And when it comes to bottle openers, I drink whiskey mostly, so I don't need those either. Then there's, on the other side, there's a serrated knife, which is actually decent. This is the best knife on this kit, weirdly enough. And then there's another flat-headed screwdriver with a bottle opener, so 2 bottle openers. That's nice. And then there's the Phillips screwdriver, which is square and rubbish. It's square because it's supposed to fit the adapter for the other bits, but it's really useless. And then there's a file. The file is actually decent, I think, and it's usable, but that's about it. And I think the main reason for not using this multi-tool or any multi-tool is because I got specialist tools for everything. I got better pliers at hand, I got a better knife at hand, I got better screwdrivers at hand, and I got better everything at hand. But I think one of the bigger reasons that I'm not using it is the steps you have to go through to use it. Because if it's in its pouch, well, you have to grab it and find it, then you have to open it, then you have to pull it out, you have to pull out the pliers, then get your tool out, and to lock it you have to put the pliers back in, and then you're ready. And that's just too many steps. Now this video is about mitigating some of those steps, or to be honest, one of the steps, and that is this pouch. It needs to go. So then we're back with the tool, and if there's any chance of me using this, I need it on hand where I don't have the tools, and that is at the workbench of which I'm sitting right now. And you might wonder, why don't you just toss it away? And I've asked myself that a lot of times, but I don't throw away tools, and I paid a lot of money for this. So yeah, we need to find something. Now, of course, I did buy some leather tools a while ago, and I still have some leather laying around, so I'm thinking a leather holster from putting this up on the wall. So that's the plan. Well, here we are again, and time to make a leather pouch. Now, for the leather to be more pliable, we put it in water for roughly 20 minutes. And as you can clearly see, the leather is floating, so we need to find something suitable to weigh it down. In this case, a can of useless paint. And after roughly 20 minutes, the leather is ready to go into the mold. Now, to save on some drying time, I wipe off the excess water, which is basically useless as I'm gonna leave it overnight anyways, but it's more comfortable working with it when it's not dripping wet. Now, as you can see, the edges are folding and buckling a bit, but since I'm not a professional leather worker, I have the perfect solution for that. A staple gun. Now, you might ask yourself, doesn't that leave holes in the leather? And yes, it does. But I make sure it's outside the area of which I'm gonna sew it together with the back piece. So we're in the clear. I hope. And when everything is all stapled up, it's time to put it in clamps and leave it overnight. And after a good night's sleep, it's time to take everything out of the clamps and remove the staples. To be honest, this was more tedious than the video shows. It's sped up quite a bit. But here's the moment of truth. And it holds the form really well. I'm pleased with this. It's the first time I tried press forming leather, and it's easier than you might think. Or I got lucky. Either way, turned out great. And now the only thing that remains is to trim down the leather so the tool is a bit proud of the edge so that it's easier to grab a hold of. And that is done by a pair of scissors and just eyeballing it. And now it's time to hammer out the holes for the stitches. With the tools that I still don't have a name for, but as we established in a previous video, we're just gonna call them the forks. Now I'm using several of them just to hold the work pieces while I hammer away. And that's about it. And there you have it, all the holes punched and ready for stitches. Now I did try a couple of color combinations, but I just ended up as last time with the lighter color, which I think gives nice contrast against the darker leather. Here I'm just eyeballing how much thread I'm gonna need and then adding some extra for safe measure. Now, I've seen professional leather workers having a specialized vise to put the workpiece in, making it easier to sew from both sides at the same time. I'm thinking if I'm gonna make a lot more stuff in leather, I'm gonna invest in one of those. But since I don't got one now, I'm just gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way. At this point in the build, I hadn't decided how to mount the holster to the wall. But then I remembered I had some grommets laying around, and keeping to the theme of contrasting colors, I used some brass ones and I think it turned out really good. And I also got to hammer some more, which is always nice. And after putting in the grommets, all that remains is to trim away the excess leather and we're ready to mount it to the wall. And there you have it. Finished product. Now all that remains is to tidy up a bit and find a couple of screws that match the holes. And by dumb luck, I had a couple laying around. Like a glove. Leather glove. Yeah.